Semantics has always been integral to the understanding and what meaning is all about. After all, this branch of linguistics is indeed concerned with learning the meaning behind the words that we use and utter in our everyday lives. It is important to understand that learning semantics is awfully intricate, since we always strive to make sense of the world that is around us. While learning semantics can indeed be difficult and complex, it does grant us with the understanding that language is not simply our means in order to get by every day. It reveals to us a clearer and a much larger picture that as language continuously evolves and progresses, so does the society that utilizes it. One of the first lessons that was ever taught to us is that language will always evolve. It will grow and change over time, just like any living being. Language will always progress, and if we were to compare, languages from a century before would seem different from the one that we have as of the moment. However, language alone is not sufficient enough in order for it to blossom continuously. Prime and external movers, just like us humans, will always find reasons and ways to gradually transform the languages that we speak. Our humanizing traits and characteristics, for instance, just like having the mental capacity to properly shape a language, is duly respected. We do not share the same thinking prowess of that of an animal. Our brains themselves are hardwired for the power to utilize language. This video, however, is not centered around the properties of human language. We are here to look into semantic changes, wherein over time, the meanings of words change as time goes on. A good example is what has always have been brought up during our classes, wherein the word coño is considered to be a vulgar word or expression that has been brought by Spanish colonizers here in the Philippines. Yet this word connotes a different meaning for us today, especially for the younger generation of Filipinos, which means that someone who constantly uses code switching between Filipino and English. There are a number of reasons on why phenomena like these happen, but it can be pinned down to the idea that human society itself is constantly changing as well. Andreas Blank in 1999 would suggest that linguistic, psychological, sociocultural, and encyclopedic forces are all culprits to the changes of meaning as time goes on. And this thought serves to be true, as these can all be linked back to society's progress in the world. Take for example the N-word. In the time of US slavery, masters of African American slaves would use this as a degrading insult. But as society progressed, the use of this awful word is not being uttered by non-black people. This is the result of the sociocultural force, wherein society perceived that this should not be a word that should be said by anyone else. Now, after dealing with the societal implications and changes on meaning, let us now dwell on the discussion of semantic roles. What it intends to show to us is that this must be properly understood by everyone, since we have this tendency that we rely too much upon context and signs. Semantic roles emphasize on the idea of logical reasoning, one of the basic foundations of semantics itself. By applying semantic roles to the sentences that we read and the utterances that we hear, we can now have an easier grasp on what these are all talking about. Of course, we must first have a crystal clear idea on the definition of these words, so that talking about the semantic roles will also be clear. To summarize the concept of semantic roles, we must always take a look at sentences with no bias and that we must take it as it is. This would then build up our understanding of semantics. In this video, we have talked about semantic change and semantic roles. We could indeed see to it that semantics should not be taken lightly whatsoever, as seeing the meaning behind the words that we utter are something to be focused on. These words are not just words. They are intricate puzzles that must be solved so that we could gain access to meaning and logic.